Hey folks, welcome to another episode of that Gang Stalking Show. My name is Doug, I'm a TI, and I've been one since 2004. If you're wondering why I've got my voice kind of low, it's 11:20. My voice is very deep, it's loud, I'm hard of hearing, and because I'm hard of hearing and on top of being loud, my neighbor can hear me next door, and I don't want to wake them up or cause them any problems. So that's why I'm kind of talking so low. Got a couple of things to tell you. I just watched a fascinating movie on Amazon Prime called UNSANE. 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 It's an awesome movie. Let me tell you that. It's about stalking. It's not about gang stalking, but there is a few elements and a few twists in the movie that has gang stalking like tactics. I saw the trailer yesterday, and I was like, I need to watch this movie. I didn't think it was going to be a good movie because it's shot on an iPhone, or at least I think it is. Matt Damon has a small cameo in it, but he nails it. Everybody in this movie nails it. There's a few parts of the movie that are too fictitious, like in the ward where this lady ends up being, it's a male-female type sleeping arrangement, and that just doesn't work. I know for a fact, I've worked in many state hospitals, it doesn't go that way. But for the most part, it's spot on. It gives you a perspective from the medical community, how they view people who complain of stalking. They naturally look at us like, you're delusional, here, take this pill. It shows the perspective of the stalker. And this is absolutely an insane movie. It's off the hook. Normally when I watch movies, I normally, if I can't get into it in the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'll just write that movie off and say, well, that was $5 I spent on Netflix or what, Google Play Movies or whatever, and I just won't watch it. It's just, that's the way I am about movies. Especially today when we have all this CGI, the green screen, and all the computerized crap. I don't like movies like that. I really like movies old school, the way they shot on film and they edited on film and did very little anything else, touch-ups. But this movie is off the hook. You need to see it. For those of you who are probably PTSD from the stalking, it may conjure up some bad feelings or conjure up some emotions. But I was going to talk about PTSD at some other time, but the only way to get through PTSD is by taking the bull by the horns. I've been through it before, and I know how hard it is to deal with it. But if you don't know how to deal with PTSD, look up cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy can be used on a myriad of problems. Basically, it's just a no-nonsense approach on how to tackle what your phobias and fears and your hang-ups are. And when you can do that and you can work your way through a problem, people who have panic attacks can get on top of it. People who have a fear of heights, people who have fear of, snakes and things of that nature. Cognitive behavioral therapy it's the best thing out there, and it's better than medicine itself. This movie is awesome. Please watch this movie. One last thing I want to throw in here. This is no big deal. This is something that happens from time to time, and you guys will understand where I'm coming from. Right now, I'm a delivery driver, and my phone's hacked. I know that it's hacked because the last stalking campaign that happened August through September of this year, 2018, every time I went to a restaurant to pick up a delivery during this campaign, there was almost always somebody there letting me know they had eyes on me. And when you got eyes on you, it's kind of like the end scene to John Wick 2, when he's got that little pass he's got for 24 hours, where everybody in the park goes from just being the people in the park to making eye contact, like, I got my eyes on you, fucker type deal. Well, here's the deal. I pull up into this restaurant and I see these two guys standing there. And I was like, And I haven't been seeing anybody For the longest time, I could be stalked every day. Somebody could have their eyes on me every day, but they're doing it inconspicuously. These guys were very conspicuous, as you know, gang stalkers are when they want you to know that they're around. I pull up to the front of this restaurant and I go, these two clowns, they just don't look right. As I pull up in front of the restaurant, approximately about 5 to 10 feet away from them, and I stopped. I just stopped and I took a look at them. They didn't say anything. Both of them were looking at me. Both of them were directly focused on me. There was nobody coming in the restaurant, going out of the restaurant, nobody milling around. So I sit there for a moment and I study them. I'm like, are they having a conversation? Nope. They're not saying anything to each other. They just got their eyes on me. I wait about a minute to see if they're going to have a conversation or if they're going to do anything that seems to be in place. People usually, after they get out of a restaurant, got a toothpick working there, they talk, you know, hey, what's going on, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. That's to be expected. You just came out of a restaurant, your belly's full. These two clowns wait until after I get out of my car, and within hearing distance, they both say, one says to the other, better sooner than later. And then the other one says, no, it went like this. Sooner or later, one guy said that. The next guy said, better sooner than later. And they both stared at me when they said it, and then they both walked their own directions. They both got into white trucks. I've talked about the white vehicles in the past. The white vehicles are directly related to the KKK. And the person who is stalking me, I know who he is. I've got tons of evidence on it. Maybe circumstantial or whatever, but I know who this guy is. I am 100% certain of my stalker, and I know he is very well connected through the good old boy East Texas network here in Tyler, Texas. With that said, I don't know if a new campaign is going to start, but I know that just about every time before a campaign starts, there's always a yellow flag that goes up. And it may be 6 weeks, it may be 2 months, it may be 3 months before the next one starts up. But it's going to start up. I know it's going to start up. It's okay. Sooner or later, I will prove that this guy is stalking me, and he will go to prison for it. And I think I know what he's up to right now. I just had a psychological evaluation. It's right here. I took a test called the PAI, and see, my computer's hacked. Everything's hacked. You people know this as targeted individuals. You know everything's hacked. PAI, I think it's a personality something. PAI, psychological test. The name of the test is not listed in, it's the Personality Assessment Inventory. I looked at this a couple of weeks before I took the test, but basically the test is a test for psychopathy, to see if you have a mood disorder, to see if you're delusional, to see if you got a personality disorder, conduct disorder. It does a nice swath of the whole spectrum. I took the test and I smoked it. I smoked the test. No psychopathy came back on me saying, Mr. Jones is bipolar. Mr. Jones has schizo whatever. Mr. Jones has this. Mr. Jones has that. The test, the lady clearly stated he smoked the test. She didn't say smoked, but she could not infer not one thing about me that said this guy is nutty. Now, with that said, I have got a previous diagnosis that I absolutely 100% do not agree with. I'm not going to discuss that diagnosis on here because it's pointless. But I disagree with the diagnosis simply because in order to have this type of diagnosis, you have to have it without any strings attached to drug withdrawal. And I will say this, I have had a history of psychosis. through drug withdrawal. I have never been psychotic in my life, never been delusional or in delirium in my life unless I was withdrawing from drugs, prescription drugs, and that's it. On 3 occasions in my life, I withdrew from medications. And each and every time I went into acute withdrawal syndrome. One was so severe that I had a grand mal seizure. I also had a lot of physical problems, diarrhea, muscle cramps, aching, but every bit of that. And when I told this to a previous doctor that I was talking to, he gave me some lame diagnosis. And he said, this is what you got. And I go, I don't have that. I don't have disorganized thinking. I don't have disorganized speech. My speech is not pressured. I have never been manic a day in my life. I don't have that. Oh, yeah, you do, because you keep saying these people are following you around, and that's delusional, and that ties into this. And I said, but I just told you the only time I ever had psychosis, doc, was when I was withdrawing from medications, either Klonopin. One time it was mood stabilizers that I didn't need to be on, and I took myself off them, and I paid the price each time. Another time it was narcotics, it was opioids, it was oxycodone. And in each case, yes, what happened to me is what is expected to happen to a person who does not slowly withdraw from these medications. With that said, I tried to tell her in defense of that one diagnosis that was, that she knew of. And I said, look, doc, it was a psychologist. I said, look, I don't have that. If I had it, I would own it. It would be mine. I have type 2 diabetes. I have no problem with that. I have a thyroid problem. No problem with that. I own my illness. And I'm not too ashamed to say if I had mental illness, I would own up to it. I would own that diagnosis, and I would learn everything in my power about that to stay healthy. But that's another story. What I'm trying to tie this into, this whole sooner or later bit, or better sooner than later, is I think they caught wind of that psychological evaluation. And I'm seeing something that seems like a yellow flag to me. It may not be, but there is a particular. I'm not going to go any further with this because it's pure speculation. I don't want to tie speculation into anything else. What I will tell you, which is objective, and it's just not my opinion, 2 white males in their 50s, early 60s, waited for me when I pulled up to a restaurant to pick up an order. I think it was last Thursday or last Friday. I've got it in my notes somewhere. And like I said, I waited a good minute to monitor the behavior to see if it was normal behavior exiting a restaurant. Normally it's like rubbing your belly, picking your teeth, and hey, and mostly it was a Mexican restaurant that offers free ice cream after you get through with your meal. And when you see people walk out, they're picking their teeth, they're rubbing their belly, and they're licking on an ice cream cone. These 2 guys, they wasn't doing either. They were waiting for moi. So, with that said, I think that they probably got hold of this correspondence I've been having with this psychologist, and they're like maybe trying to move in on that and try to see if they can work with something. I don't know. But I can clearly state this 100%. I took the the personality assessment inventory. I took it on the 3rd of December, and I got the results back a couple of weeks ago. And because I told the psychologist and I was trying to tell her about this previous diagnosis, which is just off the chart wrong. When I was trying to explain why I got that diagnosis was that way because I tried to explain gang stalking to this particular psychiatrist, and he inferred that all that was delusional. It didn't happen. There's no such thing as gang stalking. I quit seeing the guy. that's it. I don't have any faith in these people. But, you know, her impression was he smoked the PAI, but he's delusional. As you all know, I'm not delusional, and neither are you. Do I have any quirks? Sure. Do I have any peculiar behaviors? Sure, but you have them, and everybody else in this world has them. When I was a kid, one of the things I used to do was tease the hell out of people who had quirks, and I would imitate their quirks. You know, that was my way of razzing somebody or whatever, and that's just something I can pick up on other people. But quirks and oddities, peculiarities, idiosyncratic things, that's not any indication of mental illness. But with that said, I totally expected her to say that. I even gave her links to credible stuff and gave her credible documents, and I said, get back with me. Of course she didn't. And since she hasn't, I said, you know what, I'm not going to talk to her anymore, because I'm not going to convince her. I've seen Dr. John Hall's videos and read where he says you're not going to convince anybody of anything, so don't try. I made a mistake of trying to convince this lady, and she just wrote it off as delusional. But she did say that the person I complained about, which is included in her assessment, it's her impression that this person did stalk me at some point. So I've got that documented, and his name is documented in this report as well. At this moment, I feel no reason or need to throw this man's name out there, but you know, if he keeps pressing, I'll put everything out there. I've already got a video loaded up to my YouTube channel in case anything ever happens. He's not going to be able to delete it, and I have other videos around on thumb drives given to different people. It's got my full testimony on it. Whatever this guy wants to do, all he's doing is digging his own grave. Anyway, people, that's the end of my video. I put 17 minutes into a 5-minute video. It was only going to be 5 minutes. Once again, I'm talking soft because I don't want to wake my neighbor up. But anyway, watch the movie UNSANE. It is awesome. That's going to be the end of this video. Y'all have a good night.